Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to Hanging Out with Successful Bar Exam Students. This is lucky episode 13 because we have not someone who's lucky, but someone who's incredibly successful. And you notice this light shining down the middle of my face. I think it's because there's an angel with me today. This is really one of my very favorite people from the last set of bar exams. She's somebody who has accomplished an extraordinary thing. And when you hear her story today, I think you're going to be blown away by the accomplishment and what she's done and how she pulled it all together under what I think were some pretty significant odds. So I want to let you get in and hear from her. So I want to introduce to you Anna Sokol, who is a passing Georgia bar taker, but also a foreign trained attorney who passed the Georgia bar under the new rules, which we're going to talk about today. So welcome to the broadcast, Anna. Great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be back to chat with you.
Yeah. You and I did
under stressful circumstances.
Yeah, you and I did a lot of video chats, didn't we? Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Well, why don't we start by first you telling our audience a little bit about your background and what led you to the point of taking the bar exam.
Well, I am originally from Poland, and I completed all my legal education over there with combination of 1 year that I spent at the German university. So I moved to the States in 2005. I came for an internship program that I thought will last 1 year, and here I am here like 10 years later. So what kept me initially in the States was that I was offered a job at the immigration law firm here in Atlanta. And I was initially working as a law clerk because all my legal education, unfortunately from Europe, was not, I couldn't get any credit for that because it wasn't a common law system. So I always had in mind that I would like to probably do a little bit more than being just a law clerk, but then at the same time I wasn't sure how long I would stay here. I was still debating whether to go back, and it was also hard to find a program in Georgia that would allow me to work full-time, and I did not necessarily want to go and complete, again 3 or 4 years of law school after already doing 5 years of that in Europe. I mean, that would be too much. So when finally the opportunity came and Atlanta's John Marshall Law School opened the LLM program that was a little bit more flexible, that allowed me to work and study in the evening, I just decided to take that opportunity. It was a little bit hard because my son was 8 months at that point when I started, but I'm so happy I did that. I really did not.
Yeah. Let me interrupt for 1 second just to say, in case you missed that, because she said it really quickly. She's foreign trained. She's going to school at night. She's working full time at the day, and she's got an 8-month-old son. Other than that, no challenges whatsoever. Okay, Anna, go ahead. Now, continue. Your modesty kind of blows me away there. Okay, go ahead.
No, I said it was hard. Yeah, it was the worst year of my life, I will be honest. So, yes. I just, and at that point, I've been working at the law firm here in States for, since 2006. So at that point, I just wanted, always wanted to practice. That's why I completed my whole legal education in Europe, and I could practice over there. It just, longer I stayed here, more it felt like home. I loved my job, and then, my son was born here, so it just became more difficult to move again and start everything all over again. So when I completed that LLM program, actually, Georgia did not even have an option of allowing foreign trained attorneys taking the bar. So I was doing the program thinking I would be doing that in New York. And
that's when you first contacted me. We thought you were going to do the New York bar.
Yes,
right.
And I actually, after I graduated, I submitted all my documents to New York, which also was challenging because they required tons of documents, including letters from Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Education in Poland. I had to send it directly to New York. I mean, it was like a nightmare. I mean, my mom really passed the test because she was the one trying to get all those documents for me. So, and it took New York, I think it took them 9 or 10 months to evaluate all my documentation. And then they finally accepted me and said I can take the New York bar. And that message came around the same time that Georgia actually decided to change regulations and allow to foreign trained attorneys to take the bar here if they have the LLM program that meets the requirements. And that's when I contacted you and already signed up for the program. And I think that was like a May. And I just, in July, I found out that there was a board meeting that decided that, yes, Georgia changed the regulations, but it will only allow foreign trade attorneys to take the bar who completed LLM program either that year or the follow or in the future. And I completed the year before. So that wouldn't even, I wasn't able to do it. But I was at that point, I was like, you know what, whatever. I did so many things that weren't necessarily easy. So I decided to apply for a waiver, for educational waiver in Georgia. And I applied for that. I had to wait the February bar because the board meeting was after the deadline to file all the applications and all that. But then finally I had the answer that they approved my waiver and I was able to take July bar exam.
Yeah, so let me back up for just 1 second, just to help our audience here. The Georgia rules changed to allow foreign trained attorneys, as Anna said, with the completion of an LLM in an American law school to sit for the Georgia bar. This is a relatively new thing, and actually Anna was among the very first people in that program to be able to do that. But just to give you perspective, I'd been talking to Anna because I think you've been referred to me by your boss, who had been a former bar student of mine. And I think we've been talking or working for almost 2 years before you finally got to the point where you're actually going to be able to take a bar exam. I mean, this was not an overnight decide and do it kind of situation. So pretty tenacious and persevering already into the process before you ever opened a book, right? So yes.
Yeah. I think we initially contacted you around April 2014 or something like that. Yes, it was a bumpy road for me, but it was worth it. I mean, I work in immigration law firm, so the license from New York not necessarily wouldn't, prohibit me from practicing immigration law, but occasionally we have need to appear in local state courts for clients, and then that would be really very limiting for me to not be able to do that. So
okay, yes. So now you get ready and you start aiming for the July 2015 Georgia bar exam, and you had to take the full exam. You're not entitled as a foreign trained attorney to just sit for the attorney's exam. So we're talking multi-state in Georgia, just like a regular law student. Well, and you got a baby and you're working. I mean, oh my gosh, and you're foreign trained initially. So what's the process like of studying for the bar? You want to just share a little bit about that?
Well, and in order really to keep me, because after my experience with going through LLM program during that 1 year, I mean, it was just so hard. I had some health problems afterwards, so it was just too much. So I had this conversation with my boss, who is actually, the best boss ever. So that's, I'm a lucky person here. But I did take time off from work. I just did not want to do the studying, and I didn't want it to affect my family and my son. I mean, mostly my son, because at this point he's almost 4. So when I was studying, he's like 3.5. It was just hard because he wouldn't understand. We used to do everything together, and then I couldn't do.
Yeah, he was part of some of our conversations, as I recall.
Yes.
He was on Mama's lap, yeah.
His daddy became a little bit a mommy, then I had also help from my mom a little bit, which was nice.
Right.
But so what I decided after having a conversation with my boss is to take time to just concentrate on studying at least for those 2.5 months, just concentrate on that. Mm-hmm. So I started early. I mean, with me being always a little bit, realistic, because I know there can be especially with a little one at home, he can get sick. So I never know if I will have the full 8 weeks if I only did that time. So I wanted to start early. So I believe around beginning of May, I started slowly kind of getting into, the habit of doing assignments and going through the material, reading. It was a little bit slower at the beginning. I just had to find my pace and kind of figure out, what I'm doing. But that helped me because I did have some bumps, especially at the end of the studying period, because I think 2 weeks before exam, my son got very sick with fever of 105, and
yeah, I remember.
he didn't go away for like 5 days, and then he recovered. I got sick. That was week before exam, so I couldn't talk. I had fever. I was like, whatever. It's just whatever.
Yeah, I recall that conversation.
Yeah.
You know, you looked like death warmed over. Yeah, it was bad.
At that point, thanks to the fact that I started early, at least I wasn't freaking out as much, because at that point maybe my practicing essays, maybe a little bit more MBEs, that suffered a little bit, but at least I was done with the substantive material, so I was a little bit more, you know, I just was able to take those like 2 or 3 days off, and I was like, I have to recover, I cannot study, and that helped me, the fact that I started early.
Mm-hmm. So you would recommend that people begin?
Well, I think that
In early, right?
I think that in my specific situation, where I knew that I am a foreign trained attorney, so English is not my first language, then also the fact that in the LLM program I did not complete all the subjects that are tested on the bar, I just didn't feel, you know, I felt that I need a little bit more time than maybe an average American student. So in my mind, I wanted to start early to make sure that the subjects I never covered and had no idea, like evidence or criminal law, I have never had in LLM program, just criminal procedure. So it was helpful to me to just get more familiar. I had to spend a little bit more time on the subjects that I never had any, I have never worked with. So that helped me, definitely. Mm-hmm. And then I'm not the type of a person that can really, I mean, I heard stories from friends or people who are attorneys or law students or are preparing for the bar, that they studied like 13 hours a day, and without that you're not able to pass, and someone spent 3 months like committing 13 hours a day, including weekends, to study. I mean, I'm not a machine, I cannot do that. I don't think it would be productive to me. So for me, really the idea was to study mostly when my son was in preschool. So that usually would be from like maybe start around 9 and then study until maybe 5 with a break, of course, like lunch break and shorter breaks in between. And then when he went to bed in the evening, maybe like I would do like additional 2 hours of either trying to go over what I did that day or listening a little bit to maybe like some of your recordings and lectures that I just wanted to like make some additional notes or so. That I think that helped me a lot, that I wasn't really, you know, committing all day like 13 hours to that, because I don't think I would be productive at all.
Yeah, you were following our study guide, right? You were going through.
Yes, I was following it to like yeah, I wouldn't skip one thing. I was just I took your advice, which I'm very happy. I did not listen to any outside advice like, oh no, take my notes, take my outlines, or you should do this, you shouldn't be. I was like, you know what, if I do it, I have to trust someone on it, and just it just was easier, because the material is so much things, so many outlines to read, so many lectures, so many practice tests and essays, that if I wanted to do 3 different things, I don't think it would be productive at all. So I concentrated on what you gave me. I didn't like look into outside materials at all, and I just did that, and it worked.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting that one of the things that Anna did is that she kind of put blinders on, and she just said, look, whatever you're going to tell me to do, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it as well as I can do it. I'll keep getting better at it. I'm not going to get distracted. And I think for a lot of you who are listening or watching, this is one of the big challenges you face, particularly if you're a foreign trained attorney, because there's a lot of chatter out there about what you should do, right? I mean, Anna, you experienced it. There were a lot of people telling you, oh, do this, do that, where maybe it wasn't the best thing to be doing. And so you had to kind of zone in and say, this is what I'm going to do.
Yes, exactly. And that worked for me really well. And I'm happy, because I don't think it's just I was following, as long as I knew I'm following the schedule, at least I felt that I'm doing, you know, I'm following some kind of pattern that, you know, you did it so many times with so many people, and it worked before for others. I was like, I don't see why it can't work for me. So I just followed it. Yes. So
yeah, I actually think I can trace the line of people that have referred me into you back like maybe 6 or 7 generations. It's really funny. I mean, almost the group came to me through a personal referral. So one of the things that happened in our preparation is that you were in the personal mentoring course, which meant that we were conferencing about your writing. I'd like you to talk a little bit about that process and what that was like maybe early on for you and then later as you got a little more proficient at it.
Yes. I mean, you know, I always liked writing, so it wasn't like I wasn't going into this experience like with complete fear. But then I did not necessarily, when I was doing the LLM program, the school was doing the IRAC pattern of writing, and I did not feel, it just didn't feel natural to me. I mean, it was very mechanical process for me over there, so I did not like that format of writing. So when you introduced me actually to your style of writing, I mean, it really, like, right away, it felt very natural to me. And it seemed to me, oh my God, it's so much easier and it makes so much more sense. I mean, initially it was hard for me to, I think the very first essay I wrote was like, you know, I had really good comments from you, but then like sometimes like keeping those 3 paragraphs, it was confusing. I was like, do I always keep that format or how do I do it? And yeah, we had that one. I think we had that one video chat that was pretty harsh, so I had to go back. I was like, I don't think I will write anything for maybe 2 days, and then, but at the end I was like, okay, I have to do it, so I have to make it better. So
yeah, I'm kind of notorious for that one conversation. We call it the come to Jackson meeting, where it's like, yeah, this is how you're going to write. So, but you survived that, and you know, went on. And I think probably you and I talked. I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 times about your writing. And so what was the value to you of doing those writing conferences?
Well, it was very, very helpful. And, you know, like also I think at the end, at the actual even exam, when I look back, what was helpful that you really also taught me not to freak out. If you see the question that you may not necessarily know the rule of law right away, or you're not sure, you just really try to think. Don't freak out. Read the question again, and the facts are there to help you. And then try to make arguments. What makes more sense? What's logical, and what is reasonable? And so I remember I had that, you know, in mind. So there were 2 questions on the essay part that were that I think were a little bit tricky because they didn't necessarily ask you for rule of law. I think they were really asking what you as the practicing attorney would do that would make most sense for your client. So, and I think that really helped me. So, so that was very helpful to me, just kind of teaching me not to freak out, to always like be able to use the facts to figure out really what is the rule. And then sometimes, like, you know, once you start that thinking process and analyze those facts, like, all of a sudden you remember, oh, that's right, I read something about, you know, about this before, and then all of a sudden everything comes like a puzzle together. So yeah. that was really very helpful to me during the exam. Those 2 questions definitely required some type of really trying to figure out really what the question is, what they are asking me here.
Yeah, that's good. You know, another part of the Georgia exam, for those of you that don't know, is the multi-state performance test. And this is the same test that's given in New York and Texas and the uniform bar exam jurisdictions. And for foreign trained attorneys, the MPT, as it's called, is very difficult oftentimes, particularly if English isn't your first language and if you haven't seen a lot of these forms of writing. Can you talk a little bit about what the MPT was like for you?
Yes, and you know, initially I was a little bit scared. I don't think I've done, I think the time when my son was sick and I was sick kind of affected my studying for that, but I figured that if I don't have enough time to practice essays, I rather practice essays than maybe MPTs a little bit more. So I was a little bit anxious going into exam, but actually, and you know, maybe my experience also from working in a law firm helped me a little bit too, because I'm used to like formal letters, so it won't lie, it probably helped a little bit. But then I also like, because I did really like a couple of practice MPTs that you offered in your program, and that's all I did. And I think that that was enough really to kind of know what to look also in the MPTs, like to make sure like to keep some format, to keep it like formal. And I felt pretty good after the MPTs on the exam. I mean, I was confident they went okay. So
yeah.
So it wasn't that difficult. So as long as you know, like, you know, what format to keep, either if it's appeal brief, or whether it's like memorandum or letter to the client, I think it just helped me because I had those formats in mind. And then once I saw an exam, it's like, okay, this is the format, that's what it is. Have to advise client, for example, what to do. And then it was just following, you know, like making it clear for someone who will be reading that, you know. So like, you know, it had proper paragraphs, and I tried to do some captions and, like, you know, titles, so like, you know, break down that, so like it's not like 3 pages of like just random text. It was like, where's the second question we asked over. So yeah, so that really helped me also for you, because I also kept in mind that when you were saying that you have to, you know, you have to understand that people who are reading that, they have, you know, they really read it quickly. They're looking for like some keywords, or making sure that everything is there. So making it also, you know, easy to read for the reader is really important too. So I try to keep that in mind also.
Yeah, I thought you did a terrific job in practice of demonstrating that writing style all the way through. So you come to the bar exam in Atlanta, right? And crazy experience of being in the bar exam. You want to just talk a little bit about what that was like to be there for the actual days of testing?
Well, yes. I mean, and it was crazy experience because there were so many. I think there were like 13 or 1400 people taking the bar in Georgia, and it was like in this huge, like, it looked like an airport hangar, really. It was like a huge room, and it was freezing inside. I mean, I knew to like dress up, and I thought it was end of July, so I thought I was dressed properly. But when I saw people in boots and North Face jackets, I was like, I know they're not taking that exam first time.
There you go. That's how you know a repeat bar taker. Okay, good.
Yes, because if I had to repeat it, I would have really probably my winter jacket there. Yeah, it was really cold. So
yeah.
You know, and I'm sometimes like stressed out before, but usually once I go into the exam room, and I mean, I was like, there's nothing at this point. I have no control over it other than just trying to concentrate and do my best. So I usually, once I start writing or like doing stuff, I kind of like almost, you know, I just follow the questions and try to, so I don't, and the time goes so quickly in that exam room. I mean, you're sometimes thinking, oh my God, 3 hours in the, because Georgia, I don't know how it looks somewhere else, but the first day it's 3 hours morning session, 3 hours afternoon session, and second day same thing. But time goes so quickly, you don't even feel like you've been there for such a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is not like it's really little time. I mean, I had
absolutely. Yeah, I thought you did a wonderful job of maintaining your composure. I mean, with you getting sick and your son getting sick right at the end, and all of the challenges that were there, you know, you knew you were on track. You knew you'd been doing the right work. You've done the practice tests with us, the essays, the MPTs, the MBEs, and you were really ready to go. And I thought that, you know, when you got into the exam, my sense was, hey, this is going to be somebody who can probably just, you know, rise to the occasion and kind of get through it. So you did all that. And then, I don't know, 10 days ago or so was results day. Tell me about that. What was that like?
Oh, it was great. I mean, honestly, beginning like, because last year, I think Georgia released the results on like the day before Halloween.
That's right. The Halloween massacre, yes. yes. So I thought it would be the same this year, but then like a few weeks before, Georgia Bar admission office sent the message that they're actually releasing the results week earlier. And, you know, I didn't tell anyone. I mean, my office knew because they are, you know, in the legal field, so they know. But my family didn't know because I didn't want them to be asking me all the time, are you okay? How are you feeling? I just,
Yes, so so I didn't tell them that the results were going to be weak area, and that also was easier for me because I wanted to like have that, you know, just have that moment for myself, and whatever the result was, just process it and then share with my family. But yeah, the feeling was great. I mean, I did have to ask my coworker to check if I really was just imagining my name on that list or if it was really my name. So yes. And the nice thing with my boss, actually, that moment I found out, he came to my office like literally 2 minutes later, and he's like, "Here, it's for you." And I'm looking, and it's like a box of new business cards already with that. I was like, he's like, "I know you would probably have killed me if I showed it to you like week before, but now I can give it to you."
Oh, that's great. That's terrific. Yeah, how wonderful, how wonderful. And I just want to put this in perspective again for our audience. The Georgia bar exam results came out, and they were atrocious. They were awful, just like we're seeing all around the country. The the overall pass rate was very low. I think, and I'm doing this off the top of my head, so I'll check it in the show notes if I'm wrong, but I think it was in the 65 percentile rate. Does that sound about right to you, Anna?
Yeah, I think 63 or 64, yes.
Yeah, it was very low. And for the foreign trained attorneys, which were not a large number, I mean, to be sure, the rates look even lower. I mean, way, way lower, like 25%. So, I mean, here you are, you know, you have beaten the odds on every possible level. And that, I mean, so when I say an angel, I mean, you really are. So what advice would you give to people who are thinking about the Georgia bar exam, whether they're foreign trained attorneys or just, you know, studied in America? What advice would you offer to them?
Well, first of all, I think, I mean, obviously I kept in mind that I'm a foreign trained attorney, and it will be more difficult for me because of several aspects, like not covering everything in the LLM program. It's not that you went through the whole law school here, and also English not being my native first language. But at the same time, I don't think you have to go into this process like with this in mind. I mean, all you need is really to like realize that you may need a little bit more time to catch up with the program and with what for others may be a little bit easier. But at the same time, I think you just have to be optimistic. And it's like, I kept telling myself, like, I mean, I can do it. I completed that LLM program with so many difficulties, you know, on the way. So I never had in my mind that just because I'm a foreign trained attorney, I cannot do it. I try to use it to my advantage kind of mentally and be, okay, you know, it's like almost feeling less pressure on myself because I said to myself, okay, if it doesn't happen the first time, I mean, obviously, you know, a lot of American students who are, you know, good and have good grades, they sometimes don't pass. So if I don't pass, I mean, you know, I would be probably less harsh on myself. So probably not, but like at least it would be probably, you know, maybe others would like, you know, think, oh,
well, yeah. I mean, you had a lot of you had a lot of classmates who didn't pass, right?
So I mean, probably I mean, I knew only a few people just because I was taking that because of that waiver that I had to.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that many people really, just a couple of them, but. So
I guess I say that because I've heard from a fair number of people who are in the LLM program or just finished it, who actually you referred to us for the course, some repeat bar takers who did not pass. So that's why I'm saying that. So
yes, that's what that's what the school also told me, and the school actually was even asking me about the program I took, and so they realized I think something is not working with those big bar review courses.
Yeah, and I've been talking about this in other places, Anna, but I think this is like the old proverb or the old story of the emperor has no clothes. As the bar pass rates are falling, I think it's becoming more obvious that the big bar review courses just are not doing the job here, and that bright, talented people who are putting in lots of work aren't being successful. They're just not learning the skills that they need, whether it's, you know, still writing in IRAC form instead of as you said, more the style of what an attorney in practice would do, and just getting the feedback. I mean, the feedback was important, I gather, for you, the conferences. I mean, you kept coming back for more. So would you recommend that kind of a program, a personal mentored course for somebody as compared to just studying on their own?
Oh, definitely, yes, definitely, because that's what I think like helped me the most. Because obviously you can read the material, you can listen to lectures, but you need that personal feedback. Especially in my situation, I mean, I needed that because I had questions. I wasn't sure always how, you know, about the format, or it really helped me a lot. So I did need that definitely, and I feel it helped me. So other advice would be really to, you know, like what I did is just trust one person and just trust that with your program, like what you're doing, you know what you're doing, and that really I think that like left me without that anxiety. Oh my God, am I doing like right thing? I just concentrated on studying and then following the program. So I wasn't like second guessing, like, you know, are your methods working or not? It's just I just blindly trusted you and followed everything that you told me to do. And I think that's what you need to do, because that takes so much out of your mind, like, you know, of your mind to just concentrate on that aspect of, okay, I have to read, I have to listen to lectures, I have to understand it, and I have to practice. And that was really helpful to me, that I didn't have to worry, that I kind of tried to block that outside influence and be like, okay, I'm not listening to, because there are so many people who, you know, took bar exam that I knew, even from my, you know, from work, and everybody would have a little bit different idea of what should work or what worked for them, and most of the time they would freak you out, except of my one coworker who was great, who was really kind of on the same page, like, don't drive yourself crazy, take some time off, and, you know, she's like, you can do it. So yeah. The only thing was that I always tried to do something. Even there were days, obviously, where I wasn't feeling great, or just my, you know, level of concentration wasn't, like, something was off that day. I was like, I don't know how to study, but at least I tried to do something that would be easier. Then if I couldn't like go for the whole lecture, so maybe I would go back and do like a couple of practice questions, because it was easier for me without having to like concentrate that much, just like do some practice. So I tried to do like, even if it was like slowly checking off the assignment, it felt so good when I put that check mark next to that.
Absolutely.
You know, Absolutely. So I think that was always helpful to me. So
good. You know, I think that you're a good example, Anna, of when I talk about sort of the investment that people have to make and the expectations, that you recognized you were teachable, and you were willing to make the investment of time and the investment of money for your studies. And I think by making those investments, by being open to those things and following that advice, then you got the result that you wanted, which was to pass in the first time around, and certainly, you know, beating the statistical odds. I'm so thrilled that you've joined us today. And I really appreciate you sharing this story. I know you're going to be enormously successful, you know, because you have been already. Yeah, I think it's going to be very inspiring and very encouraging for people to hear your story and what you've accomplished. Do you have anything else that you want to just share before we finish up here today? Are you know, if you were talking to somebody who's thinking about, should I take the exam or not, what advice would you give them?
Sign up for Jackson's program, and then you'll be fine.
Well, I can't say it any better than that. And folks, I didn't set her up for that, I promise.
It's really, I mean, it's really true, because I was referred to you by my boss, who did that exam like long time ago, and he also he was in the FBI for most of his career. So when he retired, like, he was out of law school for like 20 or 30 years. So you know, for him, it wasn't, like he said, it was an easy experience, and he really highly recommended. Like, he didn't even honestly give me a chance. He just like went to the website, signed me up, called you, and it's like, okay, that's what you are doing. I was like, okay. Yeah, there you go. And I'm very thankful to him for that, and to you for guiding me for that process. But I think that's really like, and being foreign trained attorney, I really think like you have to really go into that, like, believing you can do it, because otherwise I don't think, even if you are not a foreign trained attorney, if you start the process like, oh my God, I don't think I can pass, I think it's just, with that mental state, you know, it's just hard to probably first like go for the whole process and then believe that you can pass. So, and I actually really liked your motivational messages. I like especially one day before bar exam, where you said that, you know, God has a plan for you, and it may not mean that you will pass on the first time. I was like, okay. So,
Yeah,
so that
that's
some
an
pressure.
important message. Yeah.
That's actually nice. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
actually a nice message. So,
Good.
yes, so follow the
Okay.
program and do your work. I mean, obviously nothing will happen without you being engaged in that. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of work, but it's worth at the end. And it's such a nice feeling to be able to, you know, pass on the first time and not have that pressure later of like trying again and again.
Yeah. Well, Anna, I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule between work and mom and family and everything else. Just delighted for your success and thrilled that we could be part of that. And very appreciative that you would share your story with our audience today. So folks, this is a really successful bar exam taker here that you're looking at. She did what most people couldn't do. Under difficult circumstances, and I'm very, very proud of her and her accomplishments. And I think if you keep an eye on Anna, she's going to be somebody to keep an eye on in the Georgia bar. She's going to make a difference. So, hey, we're delighted. It was great to spend time and catch up with you. Thanks again. For all of you who've been watching and listening, we appreciate your time as always, and look forward to the day when you might join me on one of these interviews, right? And have the opportunity to share your story of success. So with that, I'm going to sign off, and thanks again to our guest today, Anna Sokol. Bye-bye.
Bye.